You've been walking into rooms your whole life without realizing you were being measured. Before you speak, before you sit down, before you even open your mouth, everyone has already decided what you are. They've already decided whether to respect you, ignore you, follow you, or crush you. And if you're honest, most of the time you've felt it, that invisible judgment, that quiet dismissal, that subtle power you can't seem to hold on to. You wonder why some people command attention without trying, while you keep explaining yourself, proving yourself, and still feeling smaller. This is not an accident. This is the oldest game in the world, the game of power. And right now, without knowing it, you're losing. You're losing every time you rush to fill silence. You're losing every time you show them your nerves. You're losing every time you think you need to do more. Speak louder, try harder. The more you try to look powerful, the more you reveal you're not. And every person in that room feels it before you do. But there is another way, a hidden discipline that flips the script. A way to walk into any room and bend it without a word. A way to master situations without lifting a finger, without begging for respect, without trying. It begins with something you've ignored all your life: presence. In the next few moments, you're going to see why the most dangerous men in history never shouted, never fidgeted, never explained, and why everyone obeyed them anyway. The most dangerous men in history rarely lifted their voices. They did not shout to command attention, nor did they need to prove their strength. Their power was silent, unnerving, deliberate. When they entered a room, time seemed to slow. Eyes followed them, not because they demanded it, but because something in their stillness forced the world to obey. This is the beginning of all mastery, not in action, but in aura. The presence that bends situations before a word is spoken. You've seen it before. One man speaks, and no one listens. Another says nothing, and everyone waits. What makes the difference? The secret lies in what Machiavelli called the discipline of effortless presence. The unseen command that requires no display, no noise, no effort, yet bends the will of others like gravity. Think for a moment about how most people act when they enter a room. They adjust their clothes, clear their throat, check their phone, speak too quickly, smile too much. Each small movement reveals a desperate plea: see me, like me, believe me. But presence is the opposite. Presence begins when you stop needing to be seen. When your energy says, "I am already certain," the louder someone tries to prove themselves, the more they reveal that they are not in control. The executive who dominates meetings with noise rather than strategy, the friend who fills silence with nervous chatter, the lover who explains, pleads, over-justifies, unaware that every word makes them smaller. Effort is not power, it is confession, and every attempt to force respect announces your insecurity louder than your words ever could. Society celebrates motion, but motion is often panic disguised as ambition. The weak move constantly because stillness terrifies them. They believe power comes from activity, that control comes from talking, persuading, asserting. But those who truly command understand something deeper. Power comes from what you withhold. Every unnecessary gesture, every unneeded explanation is a leak in your influence. The one who speaks less controls more. The one who listens longer knows everything. The one who waits calmly in uncertainty becomes the center of it. The world orbits whoever resists the urge to prove themselves. The moment you feel the need to convince, you've already surrendered your position. Understand this. Every room you enter is a battlefield of invisible signals. Before you've spoken, you've already been measured. The human brain is ancient. It sizes up dominance in seconds. A slight tremor in your tone, a hurried movement, darting eyes. They speak louder than your words. People sense whether you are centered or scattered. They feel whether you need something from them or nothing at all. This is why those who seem calm are always trusted, and those who chase attention are quietly dismissed. The world reads you before you even open your mouth. The only question is, what story does your presence tell? Look closely at your past interactions. How many times have you given away power by trying too hard? How many times have you spoken when silence would have made them listen harder? How many moments have you destroyed by showing fear of being misunderstood, rather than letting the misunderstanding serve your advantage? Every attempt to control how you are perceived ends up exposing your weakness. You've seen it. The leader who insists he's in charge loses his followers. The student who rehearses confidence ends up trembling when it matters. The man who begs to be loved becomes invisible to the one he desires. All because they don't understand the first law of presence. The one who needs to win has already lost. Presence is not about dominance, it's about density. The denser your calm, the less you need to move to shift the atmosphere. People feel the weight of your composure, the steadiness in your silence. When you walk into a room, every gesture, every pause, every breath should say one thing: I am certain. Even when you're not, because certainty is contagious. It seeps into the nervous systems of everyone watching you. When you appear unshaken, they hesitate to test you. When you appear unmoved, they begin to question themselves. This is why the truly powerful never compete for attention. Attention gravitates to them naturally. They do not chase approval, because approval is already beneath them. Their silence commands more respect than noise ever could. The truth is that mastery does not begin with knowledge, or talent, or aggression. It begins with presence. Machiavelli understood that the ruler who cannot command silence will never command loyalty. To rule others, you must first rule the air around you, that invisible field that tells people whether to approach, to retreat, or to follow. Power without presence collapses under scrutiny. Presence without words creates fear, fascination, and obedience. It is the mark of someone who appears untouchable. The illusion of effortless control makes others doubt their strength before they even test yours. This is not arrogance, it is architecture. You design the perception, and perception becomes truth. When you master your presence, you no longer compete, you select. You no longer react, you absorb. You no longer seek to prove, you allow others to reveal themselves. You realize that victory does not come from doing more, but from being less disturbed. That every conflict, every negotiation, every seduction begins and ends with who can remain calmer under pressure. Presence wins because presence unsettles. People feel small next to someone who doesn't need their validation. They start questioning their worth, their certainty, their authority. And once they begin to doubt themselves, they obey without realizing it. Now look inward. Ask yourself, do people feel calm or chaos when you walk in? Do they sense composure or desperation? Do they feel drawn to your quiet gravity or drained by your need to prove something? Every person you meet is reading the script your energy writes. If your presence says, I must convince, they will dominate you. But if it says, I already know, they will yield. The irony of mastery is that it is invisible. Those who possess it never declare it, and those who declare it never possess it. This is the first secret of Machiavelli's discipline, the art of controlling reality by appearing not to try. The appearance of ease is not laziness, it is preparation refined into grace. When your presence speaks for you, words become unnecessary. When your energy radiates inevitability, outcomes rearrange themselves around you. Stop trying to prove you deserve to be in the room. Become the reason the room feels different when you arrive. This is how the game begins, with silence, stillness, and the quiet understanding that the most powerful man is the one who looks like he has nowhere to go, because he already stands where everyone else is trying to reach. But this is only the first weapon. Presence without stillness is unstable. You can hold the room, but can you hold yourself when the silence stretches too long, when the opponent smirks, when pressure rises? In the next law, we'll unlock the power of stillness, and you'll see why silence is not just absence of noise, but a force that makes even the boldest lose their confidence. The most dangerous moment in any confrontation is not when words are exchanged, but when silence lingers. The fool cannot bear it. He rushes to fill the void. He reveals his fear, his impatience, his inner imbalance. The wise man waits. He lets the silence breathe, stretch, suffocate. It is in those still seconds that power shifts. You've seen it, a negotiator who folds under pressure, a speaker who starts rambling when the room goes quiet, a lover who reveals too much after a pause. Stillness is a mirror. It reflects who truly controls themselves and who is ruled by the need to act. If presence bends the room, stillness anchors it. It is the invisible rope that tightens around those who cannot remain calm. Most people are slaves to movement. They mistake noise for momentum. They confuse activity with progress. They talk because silence exposes their uncertainty. They move because being still would mean facing their own doubt. Machiavelli understood that power belongs to the man who can remain motionless while others scramble to interpret him. The wolf who doesn't lunge controls the pack. The general who waits out his enemy wins without losing soldiers. Stillness is not passivity. It is the art of making others burn energy while you conserve yours. It is the hidden advantage that exhausts your enemies without lifting a hand. Watch carefully how the powerless behave under stress. They explain, they defend, they apologize, they justify. Every unnecessary word reveals fear of judgment. But the master says less, and his silence becomes an interrogation. People project their fears into your stillness. They imagine meanings, intentions, threats, all while you remain unmoved. The longer you stay silent, the louder their anxiety grows. This is why kings spoke rarely, and when they did, every word struck like iron. Silence was their throne, stillness was their crown. The less they reacted, the more others revealed. You've been taught that to fix situations, you must act quickly. That hesitation is weakness. But look at nature. The predator does not chase noise, it waits for alignment. The snake moves only when the prey is certain it's safe. The eagle circles for minutes, motionless against the sky, until one fatal strike ends the hunt. Stillness is nature's strategy for precision. Human nature, however, fears it. Most people are so addicted to reacting that they mistake your calm for confusion until it's too late. That is your advantage. You win by doing less while they lose control trying to decode you. Stillness unnerves because it denies others the control of rhythm. Every social exchange has a tempo. Talk, react, respond, fill space. When you slow that rhythm, people stumble. They lose synchronization. They start to feel exposed. Stillness is the disruption that makes them dance to your timing instead of theirs. And when they move to your rhythm, you already lead. It's psychological warfare disguised as composure. You can see it in the eyes of interrogators, negotiators, poker players, seducers. The moment they stop reacting, the other side starts performing. The one who controls tempo controls outcome. Consider a meeting. Two people sit across a table. One speaks passionately, his hands moving, his tone rising, his eyes seeking approval. The other listens, still, face unreadable, gaze unwavering. Who holds the power? Not the one speaking. Words are wind. The still man absorbs everything, the weaknesses, the motives, the lies. He becomes the gravity of the room. The talker soon feels the imbalance, starts to question his own words, to correct himself, to over-explain. By the end, he is no longer persuading, he is confessing. The silent man has already won without effort. When you become still, people project onto you whatever they fear most. Some will call you arrogant, others will feel threatened, some will be drawn to you, but all will feel something. That is presence amplified by stillness, the paradox where doing nothing becomes an act of dominance. This is why monks, warriors, and kings all practiced it. Stillness separates the impulsive from the inevitable. It creates the illusion that time bends for you, and in many ways it does, because when others burn through their emotions, you conserve yours, and the one who can wait longest always wins. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you allowed silence to work for you? When was the last time you looked at someone, unblinking, until they revealed themselves? When was the last time you sat in tension without rushing to end it? Stillness is uncomfortable only to the undisciplined. The master thrives in it, because he understands that silence magnifies power. In the absence of words, people start to feel your weight. They sense your certainty, your control, your detachment. And the more they feel it, the less they dare to challenge it. To master stillness, you must first confront your fear of appearing powerless, because society glorifies reaction. We live in an age where silence is mistaken for ignorance, and stillness for weakness. Everyone is rushing to prove relevance, to comment, to act. But those who truly see through the noise understand this: reaction is the leash of the masses. The moment you react, someone else owns your center. The moment you can't bear silence, your strings are visible. Machiavelli's discipline teaches that power is not found in expression, it's found in restraint. You must learn to hold your energy like a blade behind your back, invisible but sharp. Presence is the aura that bends situations. Stillness is the spine that supports it. Together they create the illusion of effortlessness, that everything flows your way, not because you fight, but because you don't. Stillness turns chaos into clarity. It forces the world to adjust to your rhythm. It's what allows you to see clearly while others panic. And yet there's a deeper level still, one where mastery no longer means waiting in silence, but acting at the exact moment when silence has done its work. In the next law, you'll learn the art of reading first, acting last. The discipline that transforms your stillness into precision, the ability to see before others move, to understand without asking, and to strike once flawlessly when the time is right. Before every great move in history, there was observation. Before the general commands, he studies the field. Before the predator strikes, it watches the wind. Before the king makes a decree, he reads the faces in the room. Action without reading is blindness disguised as confidence. Most people fail not because they lack power, but because they move before understanding the terrain. They act before listening, talk before thinking, and expose themselves before realizing they've been seen. To master any situation, you must first learn to read it. Machiavelli's third discipline, the art of reading, first acting last, is the secret that separates the reckless from the inevitable. Watch how the weak rush. They interpret one look, one silence, one gesture, and leap to conclusions. Their impatience makes them predictable. They assume what they want to believe instead of decoding what is. But those who master perception never assume. They watch until patterns reveal themselves. Every tone hides motive. Every delay hides intent. Every word spoken in haste reveals what the speaker fears most. The room speaks long before the mouths do, but only to those who are still enough to hear it. The majority live reactively, prisoners of impulse. They answer questions that weren't asked. They argue with shadows. They reveal information no one requested. And because of this, they are always one step behind those who observe. The Machiavellian mind knows that reading is not about gathering facts. It's about sensing power. Who interrupts whom? Who looks away first? Who mirrors? Who leads? Who flinches? It's about understanding not what people say, but what they avoid saying. The real battle always begins in silence, in glances, in pauses. Before the sword, there is the stare. To read is to disarm. Because the one who sees the truth behind the mask can make the mask work for him. Once you can predict someone's reaction, you own them. You can push them into speaking too soon, into defending what they should have hidden, into confessing through emotion. Reading is the invisible strike. No one feels it until it's too late. The man who listens twice and speaks once is not slow, he is lethal. Every word he says carries precision because it comes after seeing the full board. He does not chase control, he earns inevitability. You have to understand that most people reveal themselves constantly. Their ego forces them to display what they think hides them. The arrogant try to look composed, but their small need to dominate each exchange betrays their insecurity. The humble pretend to submit, but their quiet resentment leaks through gestures. The powerful never rush to explain themselves because they understand the rule. Explanation is weakness. Observation, on the other hand, makes you the ghost that haunts their every move. When you know what they'll say before they say it, when you can sense tension before words appear, that's when you start to rule conversations before they begin. There's an old principle: never act while the truth is still unfolding. The impatient commander moves too soon and loses the war. The impulsive investor acts on half-truths and destroys his fortune. The insecure lover reacts to imagined betrayal and ends what was never lost. Action is irreversible. That's why you must let silence do the heavy lifting. Let people talk. Let them reveal. Let them grow uncomfortable in your calm. They'll show you what they value by what they defend. They'll show you what they fear by what they attack. And when you finally move, you won't be guessing, you'll be executing a certainty. Machiavelli wrote that fortune favors the prepared mind, but what he meant was this: power belongs to those who read before they act. The one who moves last controls the frame. The first to act exposes himself, the last defines the outcome. You can see this in negotiation, in argument, in love, in war. The first person to fill the silence loses the advantage. The first to reveal motive loses mystery. The first to show emotion loses leverage. Control is not about speed, it's about patience. The timing of your strike must feel to others like destiny, not decision. You've likely been in moments where you felt overwhelmed. The pressure to reply, to respond, to do something. That feeling is not urgency, it's manipulation. The world conditions you to react fast because fast reactions are predictable. But once you slow down, once you observe, everything slows with you. You start to see the undercurrents of behavior, the insecurities hidden behind laughter, the aggression that masks fear, the flattery that hides intent. When you learn to read, you begin to move through life like a strategist among impulsive men. And that's when the balance of power tilts in your favor. Think of every argument you've ever lost. Was it because they were smarter or because you reacted before you understood? Think of every opportunity you missed. Was it because you lacked skill or because you didn't wait for the right moment? Most mistakes are not from ignorance, but from haste. The disciplined mind knows that perception is the true weapon. Once you can see clearly, you barely need to strike at all. The battle ends before it begins because the opponent has already exposed himself in your silence. This is the essence of Machiavellian mastery. Not the strength to move first, but the wisdom to wait last. Every empire that lasted was built on observation, patience, and timing. The reckless conquer fast and fall faster. The reader of men rules slow and forever. Never forget, the eyes that see calmly rule the hands that move frantically. When you stop reacting, the world begins to reveal itself in patterns, rhythms, and cracks. You start to feel the undercurrent beneath every conversation. That's when you realize every situation is already telling you how to win. You just haven't been listening. And yet, reading is only half the game. Once you've seen, once you've understood, how do you appear effortless when you finally act? How do you strike without seeming to try, to make power look like grace and dominance look like nature? In the next law, you will learn the mask of ease, the discipline that turns mastery into elegance, where power hides behind calmness and victory feels like destiny. There is a reason the strongest men in history never looked like they were trying. Caesar smiled while he conquered. Alexander laughed before the charge. Napoleon stood calm as his enemies trembled. Power wrapped itself in grace, and the world mistook ease for destiny. This is the fourth discipline, the mask of ease. The ability to make command appear natural, to make effort look invisible, to make control feel effortless. In truth, the mask of ease is the greatest illusion of all. It hides endless preparation behind casual confidence. It disguises calculation as instinct, and it convinces others that you are chosen, not trained. When you seem unbothered, the world cannot measure you. It cannot find your limits. Your composure makes others question theirs. This is why power often looks like calm. People don't trust effort, they sense desperation in it. They trust what seems effortless, because ease looks like truth. The one who appears relaxed under fire controls not only himself, but the emotions of everyone watching. The one who looks like he expected to win already controls how others interpret his victory. The appearance of effort creates resistance. The illusion of ease creates inevitability. But understand this, the mask of ease is not laziness. It's mastery concealed. The man who trains in silence, who plans in solitude, who builds in shadows, when he finally steps forward, his movements look like art. People call it talent, luck, or fate, because they never saw the discipline that made it possible. To appear effortless is to weaponize perception. You make others believe that power lives in your nature, not your work. And once they believe that, they stop competing. Because how can they challenge what seems innate? This illusion is ancient. Kings learned to hide fatigue behind still posture. Diplomats hid preparation behind charm. Warriors hid fear behind laughter. The modern world hides desperation behind filters and performance. But the essence is the same. Everyone wants to appear in control. The difference is that the weak fake ease to impress, while the strong embody it through discipline. The false mask cracks under pressure, the true one hardens with it. You cannot imitate ease, you must earn it. You've met people who carry this energy. The ones who enter chaos and somehow remain untouched. When they speak, others listen without knowing why. When they make mistakes, people forgive them quickly. When they win, no one resents them because their victory looks effortless. They make difficulty look simple, and that simplicity hypnotizes. The truth is, their power lies not in being better, but in seeming unshaken. Ease turns victory into theater. It removes suspicion. No one envies what seems natural. They only envy what looks forced. The reason people lose influence is not because they fail, it's because they reveal the effort behind their success. They show their tension, their need, their grinding hunger. But power thrives on mystery. The less you show your struggle, the more your results look divine. Machiavelli understood this when he wrote that princes must never reveal the labor behind their peace. The illusion of balance sustains authority. Once the people see your strain, they begin to doubt your control. The more visibly you fight to maintain order, the faster your followers question if you still have it. Ease is not the absence of challenge. It's the art of absorbing pressure without transmitting it. When you appear calm while others panic, you become their reference point. Their minds calibrate around your steadiness. You turn anxiety into admiration. This is psychological dominance disguised as poise. You must train your face, your breath, your tone, until they betray nothing. A flicker of irritation, a hurried movement, a shaky word, all of these tell others that you can be moved. But when you radiate unhurried certainty, they hesitate to test you. The mask of ease is armor made of grace. Think about how often people chase results but destroy their image while pursuing them. The businessman who begs for deals and loses respect. The student who over-explains intelligence and looks insecure. The leader who demands loyalty instead of inspiring it. Each mistake comes from trying too hard to be seen. The mask of ease teaches the opposite. Let results reveal themselves on their own. Never show the cost of your victories. Never announce your strategy. Never display fatigue. Those who rule smoothly appear to the world as if they were born for it. The truth is, they simply learn to hide their effort better than anyone else. Ease confuses enemies. They cannot tell if you are winning by design or by luck. They wait for signs of weakness and find none. They attack your silence, expecting reaction, and receive none. Soon they begin to doubt, not only their strength but their judgment. The calm man in chaos becomes a mirror to their panic. The one who appears light makes others feel heavy. The one who seems detached makes others desperate to earn his reaction. This is the real value of the mask of ease. It reverses the chase. Instead of you proving yourself, they begin proving themselves to you. And yet, there is a danger in this mask. Ease must never slip into indifference. If your calm looks careless, they'll stop respecting you. The balance lies in quiet command, enough composure to appear untouchable, enough awareness to remain sharp. Ease without vigilance is sleep. Ease with awareness is mastery. The moment you appear lazy instead of centered, detached instead of dominant, your illusion dissolves. Never mistake still water for stagnation. True ease moves beneath the surface like current, invisible, unstoppable, alive. When you reach this level, effort becomes invisible. You no longer chase, argue, or explain. You influence through posture, tone, and timing. You win without looking like you've tried. The result? People start believing you have something they don't. An energy, a gift, a blessing. They mistake your discipline for destiny. They can't compete with what they think is nature itself. That is the final form of influence, when others surrender not because you forced them, but because they believe you were always meant to win. But behind this mask lies another truth, one that most never master. You can appear calm, poised, untouchable, but if you can still be provoked, you are not yet free. The next discipline separates those who look powerful from those who truly are. In the weapon of detachment, you will learn why the one who cannot be moved emotionally can never be defeated physically, and how letting go is the ultimate act of control. Every empire falls the moment its ruler becomes emotional. Anger blinds strategy, desire bends judgment, fear poisons timing. The man who cannot detach becomes a servant to his impulses, and no matter how powerful he seems, he is easily led. This is the fifth discipline, the weapon of detachment. It is the invisible armor that separates the player from the game. Those who master it move through chaos untouched, because nothing external decides their internal state. They do not react, they observe. They do not chase, they attract. And they do not break, they bend, waiting for the storm to exhaust itself. Detachment is not coldness, it is control. The ability to feel deeply without being ruled by what you feel, to see betrayal and not crumble, to face insult and not respond, to lose and still appear unmoved. People mistake detachment for apathy, but it is the highest form of power because emotion is the strongest leash ever invented. Every empire, every company, every relationship has fallen because someone reacted when they should have remained silent. Machiavelli understood that emotion is how rulers get ruled. The one who stays centered becomes untouchable because you cannot manipulate what does not react. Watch how easily people reveal their weakness. A slight tone shift, a delayed reply, a careless comment, and suddenly their composure collapses. They feel insulted, defensive, exposed. The enemy doesn't even need to attack. They simply nudge, and emotion does the rest. But the detached man, he does not flinch. He sees through the performance. He knows that most provocations are bait, invitations to abandon power for reaction. He knows that losing control is the first step towards surrender. The moment you react, you stop leading. The moment you take offense, you admit dependency on someone else's approval. Detachment frees you from that trap. To be detached is to remain the still center while others spin in chaos. It means you no longer rise and fall with the waves of circumstance. When fortune shifts, you adjust. When people withdraw, you remain whole. When situations burn, you walk through the smoke without rushing. This is not numbness, it's strategy. The detached ruler doesn't suppress emotion, he uses it as data. Anger reveals what someone values. Fear reveals what they hide. Desire reveals where they can be led. The detached mind records, interprets, acts, never reacts. You have to understand, emotional people are predictable, and predictability is death in power. When your enemy knows how to make you react, he already owns your mind. He can control the battlefield without lifting a weapon. One insult, and you waste energy proving yourself. One rejection, and you expose your insecurity. One temptation, and you destroy your discipline. Detachment is how you break that chain. When no one can make you angry, flattered, jealous, or desperate, you are finally free to choose your own moves. The world dances, but you no longer move to its rhythm. You make others dance to yours. This is why the calm man always seems dangerous. People can't tell what affects him, and that uncertainty terrifies them. They project emotion onto him, trying to provoke, trying to decode, but he gives them nothing. His silence becomes a mirror, forcing them to face their own instability. The more they try to draw a reaction, the more desperate they become. Detachment doesn't push people away, it pulls them in. They crave response, and your refusal to give it becomes the most powerful response of all. In every confrontation, the emotional man loses first. Because emotion collapses time, it forces premature action. The detached man slows everything down. He stretches the moment until the opponent suffocates in his own impatience. You can see this in arguments. One person explodes, the other listens calmly. The louder one gets, the more the quiet one wins. Detachment starves your enemies. It denies them the fuel of reaction. It turns every emotional outburst into a public confession of weakness. The man who remains calm becomes the one everyone else adjusts to. But detachment must be trained. It begins with awareness, catching yourself the instant emotion rises. You must feel the heat and stay cold. You must learn to separate observation from participation. When something provokes you, pause. Watch your thoughts like a spectator. Name the feeling, but don't act on it. Let it burn itself out without touching your reason. The moment you can do that, you've passed through the gate most never cross. You are no longer prey to manipulation. You have become the manipulator, because now you see clearly while others drown in their own reactions. Detachment also gives you patience, and patience gives you timing. When you are no longer emotionally rushed, you can wait for the perfect moment. You no longer act because you want something to happen. You act because it's the right time to make it happen. Emotion demands instant relief. Detachment demands perfect precision. This is why those who seem calm always end up ahead. While others act out of panic, they move from clarity. While others waste energy on proving, they conserve power for execution. Detachment doesn't slow you down, it focuses you into inevitability. The greatest trap in life is to believe that reacting makes you strong. The world tells you to stand up for yourself, prove them wrong, show emotion. But emotion makes you predictable. You think you're fighting back, you're actually showing your leash. Machiavelli would say, "The man who cannot be provoked owns everything, because no one can move him against his will." The weapon of detachment is not visible, but its power is absolute. When you stop needing anything external to feel certain, every situation starts orbiting you instead of the other way around. Now look back at yourself. How many times have you lost control without realizing it? How many times did you speak too soon, argue too much, chase validation you didn't need? Every one of those moments was an act of surrender disguised as pride. Detachment reverses this. You begin to rule from within. You no longer demand peace from others, you carry it. You no longer chase understanding, you command it. You no longer need to win arguments, your silence becomes victory. But once you've mastered detachment, a new form of power becomes available. the ability to influence without command, to lead without appearing to lead. In the next discipline, the principle of subtle leverage, you'll learn how to bend people and events to your will through invisible force, the art of moving the world while appearing perfectly still. True control does not come from force. It comes from leverage. Quiet, invisible, undeniable. The kind that makes people do what you want while believing it was their own idea. This is the sixth discipline, the principle of subtle leverage. It is the power to shape outcomes without confrontation, to turn resistance into cooperation, to bend reality with such grace that no one notices your hand until the game is over. The loud man commands obedience and breeds resentment. The silent man engineers consent. One rules through pressure, the other rules through gravity. The first burns out, the second endures forever. Machiavelli understood that influence built on fear must constantly be maintained, but influence built on leverage sustains itself. Because true leverage is not control over people, it's control over the conditions that make people act. The master never pushes directly, he shifts the environment, rearranges incentives, plants ideas that bloom in others' minds. When you use force, people resist you. When you use subtle leverage, they move themselves. Power that feels like choice lasts far longer than power that feels like chains. Most people try to dominate through argument, status, or demand. They announce their importance and call it influence. But the more visible your control, the weaker it becomes. The moment people can see how you are influencing them, they resist out of pride. That's why the most powerful manipulation is invisible. The strings are hidden inside alignment, not authority. You make them want what you want. You turn your goals into their desires. Subtle leverage is the art of creating emotional and situational inevitability, where people obey not because you ordered them, but because disobedience feels unnatural. Leverage begins with knowledge. The more you know about someone's fears, ambitions, and patterns, the less you need to fight them. People are not logical, they are predictable. Find what they crave, and you have their leash. Find what they fear, and you have their pulse. But never use it crudely. The moment you make them feel controlled, you lose them. Instead, let your influence feel like understanding. Guide through suggestion, not command. A raised eyebrow, a well-timed pause, a seed planted in conversation. These shape decisions far more effectively than open instruction. The less they feel your hand, the stronger your hold becomes. The weak seek leverage through aggression. They threaten, guilt, or beg. The strong create systems where they no longer need to. The employer designs dependency. The leader creates alignment. The strategist arranges incentives so perfectly that even opposition becomes useful. Subtle leverage is about designing inevitability, the quiet confidence that no matter what path someone takes, it leads back to your desired outcome. You win not because you control others, but because you control the structure they operate within. Every relationship, every negotiation, every social dynamic hides points of leverage. Who needs what more? Who fears loss more? Who has reputation to protect? Who craves validation? Leverage lives in the imbalance of needs. The Machiavellian mind always identifies those points before speaking. He never competes for equality. He identifies where dependence flows. When you understand who truly holds what others want, approval, access, calm, or certainty, you no longer argue, you simply wait. Because power is not in words, it's in what people cannot afford to lose from you. Imagine this, a heated negotiation. The inexperienced man argues his case, raises his voice, demands fairness. The strategist sits back, knowing the other side's desperation. He controls not through persuasion, but through silence. Every time the opponent speaks, he reveals more. Every time he justifies, he weakens his position. The strategist doesn't win by force, he wins by patience, by letting the other man expose his own imbalance. Then, when the right moment comes, one calm suggestion ends the entire conflict. Subtle leverage is elegance weaponized. People think manipulation is immoral, but manipulation exists in every direction. The news, marketing, relationships, culture. To refuse to learn it is to choose blindness. The difference lies in intent. The Machiavellian does not manipulate to destroy, but to structure reality in his favor. He doesn't lie, he arranges truth. He doesn't coerce, he directs momentum. He doesn't enslave, he aligns. Subtle leverage is not deceit, it's orchestration. It's the ability to make complexity move with simplicity. But this skill requires one essential foundation: detachment. You cannot use leverage if you're emotionally involved. You cannot pull strings while you're tangled in them. Only the detached mind can see the full board. Only the disciplined can wait for tension to ripen into opportunity. The impulsive man breaks situations with his need to act. The strategic man bends them with his willingness to wait. Time is leverage in motion. Every second you resist reacting is a second your opponent grows weaker. Every moment you appear indifferent increases your gravity. Subtle leverage also means understanding perception. The more effortless your power appears, the more others fill the blanks with their own imagination. They'll overestimate your reach, your connections, your intelligence. You become a myth in their minds, and myths require no defense. The less they understand your influence, the more they respect it. This is why Machiavelli advised rulers to remain unreadable. Ambiguity itself is leverage. When people cannot predict you, they cannot plan against you. Confusion is control disguised as mystery. To master subtle leverage, you must learn restraint. Don't reveal everything you know. Don't press when the situation is already turning in your favor. Don't speak when silence keeps them guessing. Leverage compounds in stillness. Every unnecessary move dilutes your control. Influence accumulates like tension in the air, invisible, heavy, inevitable. The greatest victories are not announced, they unfold quietly, until everyone looks around and realizes the world now moves according to your rhythm. Power is not noise, it's not movement, nor endless strategy. It's rhythm, the calm pulse beneath every act, the invisible law that decides who rises and who falls. You've now seen what most never do. That mastery doesn't come from constant effort, but from alignment. The discipline of presence, the patience of stillness, the intelligence of observation, the grace of ease, the strength of detachment, the precision of leverage, all of it forms one architecture, effortless control. The world bends for those who no longer chase it. Machiavelli would tell you, control is not taken, it is absorbed. When you stop trying to dominate and instead become the quiet axis others rotate around, life starts moving through you like clockwork. You no longer push, you pull. You no longer seek, you magnetize. The universe begins to rearrange itself around your stillness because true order responds to certainty, not struggle. This is the secret discipline, invisible power through visible calm. It is how rulers shaped empires, how generals won without war, how the wise left crowds trembling without a word. The fools will keep fighting, arguing, proving, burning. Let them. You'll win by silence. You'll win by timing. You'll win by walking into every situation as if it were already yours, because it is. And when they finally ask how you mastered every situation without trying, you'll only smile, because the answer isn't in what you did,